All right. Good evening. I am Reverend Sherri James, and this is the Bible Hangout. I have a different setting today. Little Jordan was under the weather, and so the entire class has been done actually in my home. Myra says Miami is in the house. Hey, the link to the film strip. Let me do that. Why is the link to the film strip not working? Yeah, put the wrong one. Okay, so if you guys want to join live,
Sherri,
you have the ability. Yep.
the film strip wasn't working when I first logged in because you weren't there. But now that once you logged in, it's working.
Got it. Got it. I didn't even know that was an issue. So yes. Okay, got it. All right. So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. And I'm excited. I don't have any of my little goodies and stuff that I like to have. I have my little gong and everything. Everything's at the office. So when the fever happens, it happens. But I want to jump right in because just this whole thing, the way this whole chapter is just full and meaty and full of good stuff. And so I want to make sure that we get the time in. So to start, do this every time. Okay, there we go. So our question for tonight is, do you know the purpose of universal law? And what I want to do is just take a pulse on where you guys are, and you post it in the comments. What, as you understand it right now, you may have read the chapter, you may not have. What is the purpose of universal law? I'm just going to take 60 seconds. What is the purpose of universal law? Even if you haven't read the chapter, still throw something out. Just want to kind of get a gauge of where you are, and also just kind of where everybody's thinking is as far as universal law is concerned. What is the purpose of universal law? That 30 seconds. What is the purpose? If you had to think about it, okay, for what reason would God have created or have established universal law? Quintina says transformation. Hey, Andrea. What is the purpose? 10 seconds. What is the purpose for universal law? Go ahead.
Nothing. I was just saying hi.
Oh, hi. Ray says to provide continuity. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. That's my timer. Okay, great. All right. So hold that in mind, and we're going to keep moving. But hold that in mind, and then we're going to come back to that at the end of the session and see how what you thought about it has changed. Our outline is pretty straightforward. We've got announcements, opening prayer, why universal law matters for you, everything in the kingdom has purpose, how not to apply universal law, and then Q&A. Of course, please ask questions throughout. That is extremely helpful. So thank you in advance for that. Know your why. So the Bible Hangout has been going on now since September 2013. So we're coming up on 4 years of this weekly broadcast. And in that time, I really have gotten clear on my why it's important for me to do this, why it matters, why this is, why I show up every week, except for the breaks we've taken around the holidays. I pretty much have been here every Thursday. And I feel compelled to wake up as many people as possible to their innate divinity and to live from it. I believe that their lives will be better, and I think that my life will be better. The more that I know who I am, the better able I am to be of service to humankind, to give generously and to share. And so I encourage you to know your why, and know why you show up. But I always want you to know why I'm here and why I make this a priority, no matter where I am in the world. It does cost. And so I do thank you in advance for any gift that you decide to make. A gift of any size is greatly appreciated. You can actually make donations right at revsherri.com. There's a button for PayPal. And I thank you in advance for your support. It does make a difference. One of the things you should know that I'm working on is an editor. One of the things that I realized with the Bible Hangout is that, you guys are all tough. So we can go for an hour. Sometimes we can go back to that hour and a half how we started. But everybody doesn't want it in those pieces. Some people want it in smaller pieces. And so one of my goals is to actually hire an editor who can go through the material and chop it up into smaller pieces to be able to put it out. And so that's one of the ways that we can kind of take this message and share it in more bite-sized pieces. It'll also make it easier for you to share with friends that maybe will pull a clip that really resonated with you, and you'll see it and say, okay, I want to send that out to somebody. So that's the kind of next steps for the Bible Hangout and for helping to spread the word about it. And so just know that the support that you give is going into good soil. The way that this series works, there are 3 parts to it. There's the blog on Thursdays, there's the Bible Hangout, which we're in right now, and there is the Universal Law Library. And I'm so excited about this Universal Law Library because, okay, I'm sorry, Siri, I must have an automatic thing. I have no idea how to turn it off, but Siri like turns on, there's a voice in my room. Anyway, the Universal Law Library, it is free. You just have to be on my mailing list to get in. And it's a collection of everything that we can find on the web in regards to the universal law. And so what I encourage is that if there is something that you want to share with the group. So, for example, this week I'm featuring the diagrams from Constance Mann Leonard in Baltimore, Maryland. She is a licensed teacher with the Universal Foundation for Better Living, and she taught this course at One God, One Thought Center for Better Living, or Church for Better Living. Well, anyway, One God, One Thought in Baltimore, Maryland, and so these diagrams come out of that class, and so those are up in the Hangout, in the library, and they're set to download, so you can download them and use them and study them. I actually have the ability to record audio, but I got to figure out how to have Constance record audio or something, so we can actually like walk you through the presentation. So that's coming too. But if you have something, it could be a video, it could be a PDF, it could be a book or public domain, or any kind of resource in relation to universal law. Just send it to me by email, and if it fits, we will absolutely drop it in the queue. And I actually have a log now all the way through mid-July of material that is going in the law library. So really excited about that. My book came out. The money poems are available for Kindle and print on demand, coming soon to audible.com. And so I encourage you to grab a copy and leave a review on amazon.com. Every time I write something about the book, I always start with, you have no idea what it took to get this thing out. So, and then I scratch through it and I say, Sherri, nobody wants to know that. They just want to know what's helpful about it. But I thought that maybe I would share a poem with you today. So this is the Thursday money poem. Money comes to me by the command of my voice. It does so because it has no choice. This ability is the result of universal law, a law written not for one, but for all. What I speak with my tongue comes into fruition, so I speak wealth into my life to uplift my condition. My words are spoken with unwavering finality, causing my world to reflect its new, prosperous reality. I know the power of my words, so I speak with careful precision. And on this resourceful Thursday, I solidify my position. So I'm so excited about this book. My intent is for it to help people, especially in this gig economy, that the way that our world works has changed. The idea of working a full-time job it's really what's the word? I won't say it's gone the way of the dinosaur, but more and more often what you find are people working gigs, or they are doing consulting, but they are in a situation where they are working multiple things to put together a full-time income. And there's a mindset that comes with that. And in a very interesting twist, I actually have been a part of the gig economy on both ends, on the high end and on the low end, since the early 1990s when it first started to kind of trickle in. And is that you need the right mindset. You need to know how to respond when the gig runs out. But also you need to know how to respond when you're rolling in the chips. And so this is about developing a right relationship with money. And I am excited, and my sincerest hope is that it is helpful to you. They were written by me and Mark Allen Felton in 2007, 2008. And they were really just an opportunity for us to help people. We were in the midst of probably the biggest seismic change that most people experience, which is when the economic downturn happened. And we wanted to put together something that represented what we had learned from Reverend Della and Reverend Johnny, and that would be helpful. And we brought our talents together as creative people and produced the money for them. So go pick it up. It's on Amazon.com. Okay, the scripture says, do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. And that's Matthew 5:17. Let's just take a moment to relax. This lesson is, well, we want it to go down smooth. And I am asking for the wisdom, the grace, the training, the aptitude, the attitude to share what the Father has given me. And I thank you, God, for open hearts and open minds. What we're seeking is our own personal transformation. We want to be renewed, transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so we're asking for our minds to be changed at depth, and change in a way that we are more in alignment with you, that we're able to bring more joy, peace, love, happiness into our experience on a continual basis. That we want to move from the up and down flow of life and to move from glory to glory to glory. That was promised to us by Jesus. And we believe that it is so. And we come together for this study for the purposes of realizing that in our lives. Thank you, God. So it is. Why universal law matters for you. So you guys know we see this card every week. And the reason that universal law matters for you, it really, he ends the chapter with his kind of his summation of the chapter. But it just really just speaks to why this stuff matters. And this is on page 32 of the chapter. And this is what he says. He says, the law, like begets like, is irrefutable, unchangeable, immutable, and cannot be avoided. It operates whether we are aware of it or not. It operates whether we are aware of it or not. So it doesn't turn off because circumstances are unfair or because the tables have been turned against you. Think about that. That is huge. It operates no matter what. And, you know, we are an audience of, we're multicultural. We come from different areas, different countries, different socioeconomic backgrounds, gender, sexual orientation. Any one of us may belong to a group where we feel put upon, where we feel like we might possibly be the minority. And somehow we want universal law to not be true in regards to the situation that we may be living through at this moment. It is so imperative that we really grasp that universal law is irrefutable, unchangeable, immutable, and cannot be avoided. It operates whether we are aware of it or not. So it's not, it doesn't look and say, oh crap, the tables are turned for this group. And so we're going to suspend universal law for this group. That's just not how it works. It doesn't look and say, oh my gosh, people have gerrymandered districts so that they cannot, that elections are almost rigged to a degree. Universal law is universal law is universal law. If you give the law the right seed, it will deliver for you. And though they may have drawn a line to try to X you out of whatever it is that's your right, if you give the law the right seed, what is yours will be delivered to you. It's so important that we get that. And I'm not telling you that the racism is not real and the sexism is not real and the gender bias is not real and the homophobia is not real and all, but I'm saying that universal was more real than any of that is universal law. It is, what are his words? Irrefutable, unchangeable, immutable, and cannot be avoided. So even in the frustration of dealing with a boss that doesn't want to promote you because they got color issues or they got gender issues or they got sexual orientation issues or whatever, even in that situation, universal law is still being applied. And you have the choice to apply a seed that will produce a result that you want. And so at the end of the day, no matter what is going on in the world, you are still responsible for your results. That may be a hard pill to swallow. I don't know. I'm guessing if you're here, you're at least willing to hear it. Now, what we do with it after tonight, but universal law matters that much. There's no getting around it. But what you can do is cooperate and create what you want. So everything in the kingdom has purpose. And I open this by taking a pulse to say, well, what do you think, universal law, what its purpose might be? And that wasn't really like a trick question, but I wanted you to consider that the way that God does anything, God does everything. And everything in the kingdom has purpose. And so universal law then must have purpose. If it didn't, it would be the only outlier in the universe that of something that didn't have purpose. And one of the things that McArthur, the author of the book that we're using, suggests, and I agree with him, though I had not considered it consciously before this moment, is that the purpose of universal law is to transform us. And if you just think about it, universal law, it does not punish us, right? We are never punished for our sins, our mistakes, but we can be punished by them. We're never punished for our sins, but we can be punished by them. Because what happens is that we choose our way into a limited condition until we are forced to make a right choice in order to save ourselves. So sometimes people will say, well, God took me through this sickness so that he could get the glory. You hear that a lot. That's a theological concept. It has no basis in truth. It's just a theological concept. And the statement itself makes no sense, because whatever God does in a permanent way, right? It would be the unchanging character of the universe. So if God took you into sickness, there'd be nothing you could do to get out of it, because it would have been willed in the way that God does things. God wills things in a way that is permanent, everlasting, unchanging, and so you would essentially be permanently sick. But what does happen is that we choose our way into conditions. We choose our way into conditions through our thinking, which then inspires our actions. And so you may find meaning in going through, say, a cancer situation, right? But that doesn't mean that the creator, which is absolute good, brought you to that situation. Now, this may be an easier way to digest it. So you financially, the law is always trying to get you to make a right choice. The law is always trying to get you to make a right choice that is in cooperation with divine law and with the way that the universe is set up. But very often we make choices not based on what is true, but based on a belief in lack. We make choices based on a belief that there's not enough. We go after things not because we love them, but because we're trying to make an end meet, right? And the law is always trying to get you to make a right choice. So it must bring you the consequences of that choice. It must bring you the consequences of whatever it is that you have chosen, until finally you hit a rock bottom and you say, oh, I will do things the right way. I got to the place where I realized that you sow a seed wherever you're receiving your spiritual food. And in my case, a tithe. And you don't play with it. And I was literally at rock bottom in a dusty motel room in Jacksonville, Florida. I had traveled there to share a film that I helped produce and shape. And the situation was such that the room was paid for, but the person who booked the room for me, through no intention, ill intention, chose the wrong hotel. And it was a dusty, musty La Quinta Inn in Jacksonville, Florida. No diss to La Quinta, because there's some nice ones out there. But this was one of those motels where people live in the motel, meaning that this is their step before they go into homelessness or get back on their feet, right? So it's very transitory. And so I'm going back to my room, and people are in the parking lot working on their cars. And I get to the room, and it's just dank and nasty. The carpet is moist, but not because it's just been shampooed. It's just spongy and moist. There was blood on the bathroom door, and it just was, like that week, I didn't bathe that weekend. I can say that now. I'm years away from that. But I didn't bathe that weekend. I just stood in the mirror and washed up at the sink. Myra says, trust me, I have been there. It was really something. It was a mess. And I promise you, some woman came to the door with rollers in her hair asking for LaQuisha. And I thought, what the has happened to me? Okay. And this was October 3rd, 2009. I had a come to Jesus moment. Because how you going to be teaching prosperity and you in this dusty, busty hotel? And the thing was that I was too broke to get myself out of the hotel. I was too broke to get myself out of the hotel. And I had a come to Jesus moment. And that's when I decided to just get right financially. So whether I had everything that I needed, I was tithing, period, on the gross. Not on the gross that's just my gross, but like if we had a project together, I tithe on the gross. Because I was like, I need to make up for lost time. And there were times where paying it meant that I may not have the rent that was due. Okay. And somehow, through it all, the resources would just come. So universal law is always trying to get you to that place where you make the right choice. And it will continue to bring you the consequences of your choices until you finally say, enough. So you finally have your come to Jesus moment. And you say, all right, I got it. Kind of say, girl, reminds me of the cab I drew to myself after my oral. I'm cracking up because I'm running the visual license. I'm telling you, it was something else. So universal law is always trying to get you to make the right choice. It is always seeking to draw you in the right direction. It wants the best for you, because the universe is friendly and it wants the highest and best for you. And so every choice is backing you into a corner. They're your choices, but the impetus is, okay, make a right choice. Okay, choose something different this time. Okay, don't go in that direction again. So that is, as we keep going, talking about the purpose of universal law. That's one of the purposes of universal law, is to get you to make the right choice. And the thing is that we let pain push us until we learn to let love lead us. We let pain push us until we learn to let love lead us. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight as closing out this chapter are two of the primary ways that we misuse this law of cause and effect, or ways that we let pain push us. And the first is that we judge others and we find fault in others. We judge others and we find fault in others. And I want to start by talking about some of the ways that it's okay to judge, because perhaps you work a job. Well, let me do this. On a scale of 1 to 10, you evaluating yourself, where are you in terms of letting pain push you or love lead you? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you on the scale of letting pain push you or love lead you? If you had to evaluate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how you doing? On a scale of 1 to 10, if you had to just name it, how good are you at letting pain push you or love lead you? You know, I can say with clarity in regards to tithing and being right with my money, baby, I'm a 10 as far as letting love lead. I learned my lesson so good. I don't ever have to go back and learn that lesson. Quintina says a 5. Okay. How good are you at letting pain push versus love lead? Joe says a 4. Okay, got it. Wonderful. Okay. So Alita says, yesterday I would have said 8, but maybe a 4. Constance says, no pain, and 9 to let love lead. Still hinge on going full force, fear of success, I believe. Okay. Yvonne says 8 for pain pushing, 6 for love leading. Okay. Got it. Hold on, I just skipped one. Eve says a 5. Or is he right there in the middle? You know, I got it. Cool. So I want to talk about when it's okay to judge, because we actually do have situations where you have to judge. And the thing is that it's the kind of situation where it might be your job to judge others, right? Meaning, for example, you may have to use right judgment with employees. You know, if you're a supervisor, that's your job. You have to get in there and give a critique on what somebody is doing. You also have to use right judgment with your children, you know, and you've got to use right judgment with friends and strangers. I really should say family, friends, and strangers. You got to use right judgment with family, friends, and strangers. The thing is, and this is the thing you got to remember, is that the law still applies. So it's not like you have these situations where you have to judge someone, but you're off the hook as far as universal law. It might still be your job to judge, to decide, to analyze, to evaluate, and the law still applies. So please get that. There's no like switch, right? That's like, okay, you know what, God, I got to do this for my job. I'm gonna need to like turn this light switch off so I can like go over here and check this employee, right? Because you might have somebody that is asking for you to check, right? You ain't gonna. Let me keep my mouth closed. There are people who might be asking for you to check them. And I don't know if you work with them, but they find they have been in my sphere of influence, and they are asking. They are asking. They are flat out begging to be checked, right? And I want you to know that universal law still applies. It doesn't like turn off because you have license to check them, right? It doesn't go anywhere. And so you've got to use right judgment with employees. You've got to use right judgment with employees. And the thing that I have learned, and this was not the easiest lesson, in fact, it frustrated me to no end to learn it, that as a manager, it does not matter what you say, it matters what they hear. That you have the fiduciary responsibility in the relationship, and you are the responsible party in the relationship. And so at all times, you must allow compassion to guide you. At all times, you must allow compassion to guide you. That's tough because, like I said, you might have some people that you have worked with that not only are they not doing their job right, but they're nasty about it, right? And so you can't afford to take a non-judgmental attitude because you're costing your company, you're costing your bottom line. When you have to judge employees, you've got to approach the situation with compassion, with understanding that no matter what an employee may be doing wrong or badly, he or she still wants to do a good job. And I know that seems crazy because even when you find pushback to your supervision, that employee still wants to do a good job and wants to be viewed as somebody that's valued. And so you've got to approach every employee review session under the formal, whether it's formal or informal, with the attitude of what is the most loving way that I can help this person do a better job for our company. What is the most loving way that I can help this person do a better job for our company? And that's your responsibility as far as right judgment. So one of the things that I learned working at Donor Services Group, which was, it was remarkable to experience it and then to employ it as a manager. One of the great things that happened is that we'd gone to a training, and what was modeled for me and that I've learned to do is that you allow the person to self-evaluate, but it has a format. So let's say at the time I was working with callers, and I would bring them into the room and we'd talk about whatever it is that we'd listened to a call that had been recorded where they'd been talking to a donor or interacting with a donor. And then what I would ask is, tell me what you did right in that situation. And because you always start with praise. And so that person would say, well, I did this, I made this, this was a good choice, that was a good choice. And then I would ask, now, where do you see room for improvement? Where do you see room for growth? And so sometimes people are on both on extreme on one end of the spectrum. Either they're like overly praising themselves and see no fault, or they're on the other end where they see nothing good and they're completely, chastising themselves. But there's something that happens when you frame it, and you always start with the praise first, that when they praise themselves and then they look and say, here's how I could have done better. There's something in that opens them up to hear that there was room for a better performance. And so then when I go in and I give my notes in that same format, which is, here's what I really loved about what you did. And I try to use words that are like heavy, positive feeling words. Here's what I really loved. You did this, 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 and this. And this was a really, really great choice. Here's where I think you've got some room to really stretch. And I'd lay out what it is that I need them to do differently. And then we would say, okay, now let's kind of make a plan and then regroup in 10 days, 2 months, whatever the time frame is, and kind of see where we are. I got so many praise reports from people who said, I left feeling up in terms of this evaluation. I felt so good. I came in expecting to be run down because this was the experience I had in every other note section I had in different parts of the company. But I really got something that helped Thank you. And that was great for me because just a few months earlier, I had botched it in the opposite direction by simply going in and saying, here are all the things that you're doing wrong and I need you to fix them. So you have to allow compassion to be your guide through that process. Your compassion has to drive how you are doing what it is that you're doing. You also have the same responsibility when you're working with your children. And something that one of my parenting mentors has taught me is that you pay now or you pay later, right? You pay now or you pay later. So you can make the investment in your child now, or you will pay the price for the lack of investment later. And so I always try to keep that in the forefront of my mind, and also to remember that I have a fiduciary responsibility towards Jordan, right? You know, I have a responsibility to be the bigger person. And while he is most certainly one of my spiritual teachers, as the adult, I bear the greater level of responsibility in our relationship. And so I don't look to him to give or display behavior that I have not properly modeled. But I'm also mindful that the way that I give him notes or correction matters. And so I have to be mindful that I'm not giving notes in a way that is harming his self-esteem. And I think any one of us could point to a parent or an authority figure who they were tough on us, but they were tough in a way that wasn't kind. And I don't think that tough means that you can't be kind. I don't think that tough means that you can't be loving and compassionate. That I can hold you accountable in a way that doesn't destroy who you are inwardly or diminish who you are inwardly. So it isn't that we check out and all of a sudden we're non-judgmental about what our children are doing. We're non-judgmental about what our coworkers or our subordinates are doing, but that we have to take an approach that says that the choice that you made is leading you to a consequence that neither one of us want to experience together. And I'm going to offer you some instruction, but it's not going to come from the place of you are wrong. It's you are wrong is different from you didn't make the right choice. You are wrong says that there's something wrong with you at your core. You didn't make the right choice says that you're fine, but this choice needs some improvement, needs some work, needs some room for things to be better. We also have to use right judgment with family, friends, and strangers. The thing is that fault finding always comes back. Fault finding always comes back. I wish I could tell you that it does not, but it will find you, it will find you, it will find you. And so it may not come to us from the person that we have directed it toward, but it absolutely will make its way back to us in the manner in which it is given. And so in our dealings with others, we're in a situation where we need to analyze and evaluate and discern what others do based on their effect their behavior has on us, that, you know, we have to create a healthy environment for all concerned and always work from the premise that we accept people as they are. You don't have to agree with their behavior, but each person is entitled to his or her approach to life. Each person is entitled to his or her approach to life. And so here's an attitude, and I put this affirmation in there, and you may decide you want to use it to help you in those situations, especially with family members, because people may be making choices that just drive you up the wall. It's just not how you do things. This was a while ago, like back when I was living in Philly, but I had a friend who didn't like to hear people chew their food. So the idea was that you needed to chew quietly. And so it was an interesting experience. I can't tell you the number of fights that were had around around chewing food quietly because whatever. This is what you can say to yourself. Constance says, stop talking about me. This is what the attitude that you can take. I agree that you may live life in whatever way you deem good for you. And I free you to live life in the way that I am free to live life in the way that I deem good for me. So I free you to make choices that I do not agree with, and I withdraw my attention from those choices. Instead, I give my full attention to my own choices, knowing that my experience is the only experience over which I have mastery, authority, and dominion. I bless you on your way. I bless you on your way. When people are getting on your nerve, it is hard to imagine that it's your attention that's magnifying the nerve something. But withdraw your attention, the thing that has your attention will no longer bother you. Alita says, so we say that to ourselves? Yes, we say that to ourselves. You're not saying that to anybody. You're saying that to yourself because it's you. Here's the thing. If it were really an issue, it would bother everybody without exception. But it doesn't. Some people see the loud chewing and think nothing of it, or don't think enough of it to say anything. And so if it's registering in you and you're noticing it, then there's something in you that it's speaking to. It cannot be otherwise. Alita says, because I know I said a lot of things out loud today. Yes. Phyllis says, how about curiosity instead of judgment? I like that. I like that. We're going to come to that. How about curiosity? It's the position from which you're viewing other people. Are you seeing them as free to be however they want to be? You know, you can get curious about somebody's behavior, but are they free to be how they want to be? Are they safe on the streets of your mind? Because see, sometimes you may not say stuff out loud, but if we just took a walk down the street of your mind, would it be like a war zone for somebody that you get what I'm saying? That you're safe out here in the external, but in my mind, I am killing you. I'm killing you with all kinds of criticisms and judgments. And Alita says, "Oh Lord." Constance says, "What we focus on expands, and it is only in us." Yes. 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 So again, perspective. How is it from the perspective that this person is right for them? And there's something where it's realizing that I'm allowing this person to be right for themselves. And by being right for themselves, I don't need to say anything about it. Yvonne says, I checked a higher ranked person due to unfair and unjust behavior, and that caused a firestorm, and the response or effect was not good for me or the other person. Now moved on to a better place. Yes. Andrea says, my daughter Naomi hates the sound of chewing so badly that she would run screaming from the table when she was little. She was diagnosed with sensory perception disorder. You know, that's very possible. So there may be a situation like that, right? That's different from judging that this person is wrong because they are chewing loudly. So there may be sensory issues. For me, for a long time, not so much now, but for a long time, I didn't like the sound of whistling. So I would be somewhere and somebody would start whistling and it's like nails on a chalkboard. So I absolutely get that there may be some sensory issues, but it's different from this person is wrong because they're whistling. Does that clear that up a little bit? And thank you for saying that, because I hadn't even considered that, Andrea. So thank you for saying that. She She says, oh, she thinks we are all very wrong for chewing. Yes. Well, in that case, she needs to know she's working the law. But no, in a sensory situation, like I said, the whistling, I just didn't, I hated the sound of it because I don't know what it was doing. It didn't, nothing else touched me like that. So it wasn't something I thought I needed to go get diagnosed for. But hearing you say that about her, it reminded me that that's the case. And again, it is the response from the perspective of that you're wrong, this person's wrong for whistling versus, this just really bothers me and I'm going to make sure that I'm not in situations where this happens. So the challenge with judging and finding fault in others is that it limits your transformation. That's really the issue, right? The basic cause of inharmony in relationships comes when we impose our values on others. Using the whistling situation again, that if I feel like people shouldn't whistle, and it is that I'm right and fair and good because I don't whistle, and people who do whistle are wrong and unfair and bad. That the inharmony that we experience in relationships comes out of placing this value judgment on other people. And most of what gets us in trouble with friends, family, coworkers falls into that type of category of value judging. And so the question that you always have to ask is, how can you know whether you have slipped into value judging someone? And the questions you can stop and ask yourself, if that person is making really matters to your bottom line? And in most instances, the answer is no. And so unless you are correcting an employee for a mistake that can cost you or them financially, or you are correcting a child over whom you have the responsibility of raising or mentoring, or you are working with a friend or a spouse whose behavior impacts your ability to live a self-determined experience, you pretty much don't have a reason to judge. And I listened to a talk earlier this week that Marie Forleo interviewed Sarah Jones, and she said something I thought was powerful, which is that free people, free people. So we always say, hurt people, right? We've heard that. But the other corollary to that is free people, free people. Some of our best friendships come because we're free to be ourselves. You think about the people that you are closest to. You're closest to them because you don't have to hide yourself. I don't have to not let you see this side of me. I'm okay in your presence. You don't think less of me because of this area that I might be struggling in. Or you don't think more of me because I've done well in this particular area. I'm simply able to just be me. And so free people. And the more you free yourself, the more you free everybody around you. The more you love yourself and accept yourself as you are, the more you free other people around you to be exactly however they want to show up. So the question is, what about those glaring choices that are painful to watch, right? Because you may be in a situation with a child or a relative or a coworker or somebody, and you might feel like, okay, well, what do I do in this situation? And the thing is, and this is something I thought was, okay, we need some sugar for this one. He writes, consider one aspect of like begets like, which is that like sees like. What you see and dislike in someone else is a reflection of your own nature. What you see and dislike in someone else is a reflection of a part of your own nature. And before you say, but I don't do that, consider the fact that there must be some reason within you for noticing the other person's faults. It may be that you have repressed that element of your personality so deeply that the only way you can see it is to recognize it in another. But you got to remember, you don't notice everything. You see only what you have the consciousness to see. And if you see it, then it's got to reside in you somewhere. And my teachers at JCI, the Johnny Coleman Institute, they say it this way. They say, if you spot it, you got it. If you spot it, you got it. Not supposed to notice when someone makes a really poor choice. He had a really interesting response to this. There's another approach to noticing whether or not someone is making what you think is a really poor choice. And that is to stop judging yourself. What? I'm looking at somebody else's choice. People who are highly critical of others tend to be highly critical of themselves. If you want to stop what you are doing to another person without having to police yourself 24/7, stop doing it to yourself. If I have cultivated a vibration of hurtfulness and constant criticism, that vibration does not disappear when I'm dealing only with myself. Hypercritical people live in a vibration of constant criticism. We may only see it when they criticize outwardly, but we can trust that vibration of constant criticism is consistent regardless of where they are and whatever circumstances they find themselves in. Essentially, we are practicing being who we are, even when other people are not around us. And so it's not like this vibration of criticism disappears because they're in a room by themselves. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. And the place that they have dialed in on, as far as the universe is concerned, is the vibration of criticism, and it goes nowhere simply because they are by themselves. And so if, instead of noticing other people's faults, just stop judging yourself. If you stop judging you, you will automatically change how you look at other people. If you stop judging you, you will automatically change how you look at other people. Yvonne says, that's harsh. You spotted, you got it. Ouch. Yes. Yes. But there's a solution. Just stop judging you. Just work on self-acceptance. The more that you accept yourself as you are, the way you are, with all of your idiosyncrasies and all of the things that make you unique to the world, the way that you show up to the world, you will give that automatically to other people because it will become your vibration. It will become how you do anything. And you have to remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why the vibration doesn't turn off. It's not like you get by yourself. So you think of somebody who is hypercritical, always putting people down, always, judging other people and talking about what they're not doing right. That doesn't go anywhere because the lights turn off and nobody's in the room with them. They just look for the next person, and the only one there is them. But if you change that vibration with yourself, if you begin to cultivate a vibration of just looking at what's great about you, and you just spend time in that vibration, not as some narcissistic, I'm better than somebody else. That's not what I'm talking about. But where it's genuine appreciation. I made a really good choice today. That was a great thing. I'm glad I did that. I'm concentrating in the right direction. I like the direction I'm going in. Then you will turn around and give that to somebody else. And it will be genuine because it'll be who you are. The compliment won't be false. Andrea says, I used to leave relationships when my partner was critical of me and say to the person, I am so hard on me that I can't afford to be with someone else who is harder on me than I am on myself. The vibration. It's a vibration. And the good news is we can change the vibration. We can change the frequency. We can change the level of life that we dial in on. We have that authority. But here's the thing, and this was the other piece. And when he said this, I was like, ooh, this was a gut punch. So let me back up. I want to make sure I get this point in. Ask you guys, what is the purpose of universal law? And what he suggests, and I agree with him, is that this purpose is transformation. But the thing about the law is that it can only multiply the seed that we give it. It can only multiply the seed that we give it. Anybody can find fault, but can you train yourself to notice someone else's strength? When you find your mind wandering to all the ways that the person is living poorly, can you stop that train of thought and give your attention to something that person does well? And then he writes something, I don't know which page this is on. If anybody has their book handy, let me know. He says, every one of us has a place. Like trees, we come in a great variety, but we each have our place. The other person may be a pine, you may be an oak. People are different. Let each do it his or her way. You do it your way. And this may seem like a tall order because, and if you've been living in a vibration of hypercriticism, then it is absolutely a tall order. But you want the highest and best for yourself, so it's worth the effort to change. It's worth the effort to sow right thought. This is the thing. This was the part that was the gut punch. Your primary vibration characterizes your spiritual relationship. Your only spiritual relationship is your relationship with God. So let me say it differently. Your primary vibration characterizes your relationship with God. Your primary vibration characterizes your relationship with God. How you are anywhere is how you are everywhere. This might sound like a crazy claim, but let's talk about it. People who judge and find fault with others also find fault with and judge God. People who judge others and find fault with others also judge God and find fault with God. Of course, there's not one person on this call or anywhere that would ever admit to judging God or finding fault with God. But if you talk to them long enough, what you are going to find is that they are highly critical of their universe. They'll say things like, I don't know why it seems like everything is coming to challenge me financially. Or you really cannot trust people. They will eventually let you down. Well, they have this thing set up so that they can basically, take away everybody's rights. See, God is just a term that we use to describe the universe. But the reason there are no atheists is because everybody has some conception of this world and how it works. That ideal, I-D-E-A-L, that understanding of how things happen and why things are the way they are, is their God. And so while no one would ever openly admit to judging or finding fault with God, they will openly criticize this world. They don't like the way that it's set up. For them, life is undeniably fair. And no matter how much you point out that universal law is at work, they believe that others have an unfair advantage. Your relationship with God depends on your willingness to shift your primary vibration. Your relationship with God depends on your willingness to shift your primary vibration. It's that critical. It's that critical. And so my last thing for you is that, and this is my challenge to you, is to recognize that we always have a choice between pain pushing and love leading. And when we choose to let love lead, we shift our relationship with God. And so in any situation, no matter what is happening, we always have the opportunity to choose between tolerance or intolerance, courage or fear, gossip or support, faith or fear, patience or impatience, joy or sorrow, peace or contention, forgiveness or grudges, condemnation or acceptance. There's always a choice. And whatever choice we make will then begin to turn the tide and cultivate a new vibration. That's available to us. So I want to kind of take a pulse and just take 60 seconds and identify. You've heard a lot this evening. Identify in what area of your life are you willing to choose the high road and live in accord with peace, love, and joy. Because you can't change everything at once, because nothing will change. It's too much. But where is it in your marriage where you're going to take the high road and begin to sow right seeds and not judge and not find fault? Is it with your children? Is it on your job with coworkers? In what area of your life are you willing to choose the high road and live in accord with peace, love, and joy? In what area of your life are you willing to choose that 10 seconds, the high road, and live in accord with peace, love, and joy? I know for me, I'm going to work on that with my family, meaning my mom, dad, brothers and sisters, because that's the area that needs some transformation. Myra says at church, yeah. Well, I could have said that too. Constance says my marriage, yeah, absolutely. Quintina says relationships all around. Joe says family. Andrea says my family, my husband and children. I will choose the high road when it comes to their neatness and cleanliness in the home. Girl, you almost made me speak in tongues. Lord. Yvonne says my job. Yes. Yeah. It's work, y'all. It's work. If anybody could do it, everybody could do it. There'd be no need for a class. So now it's time to do something. Let's wrap this out. Bring to mind one person in this situation that you just identified. I mean, spouse is easy, but a coworker who gets on your last nerve. And go to page 27 in the book. And I want you to follow that exercise through where you have been that person to someone else. It's a really, really great exercise because what he walks you through is that what you really see is that the reason it's getting on your nerves is that you've been that person in some place in your life. You may not be that person today with the person that's on your nerves, but you've been that person. And so if you just take a few minutes to really sit. So he said, he talked about a coworker who completely ignored his ideas. Something for a project, and the coworker did nothing about it until he pressured him, and he said it irritated him. And he said in desperation one day, this coworker ignored an urgent request of mine. And after I reminded myself that like does beget like, I sat down to seriously analyze why I had to put up with the situation. After considerable time and effort, I was still completely baffled and was ready to give up. Finally, the thought suddenly came to me that I should be doing something about the washing machine, which my wife had been telling me for 2 months was not working properly. Then it hit me. I had been doing to her exactly what Tom was doing to me. I had been completely ignoring her ideas and her needs for her project. Like begets like. That washing machine got fixed fast. I wish I could tell you that the next day, this coworker happily cooperated on my project. He didn't. It took months of my working on my relationship with others, not only with my wife and their needs, until I truly began to really care and listen and try to help others. And over this period of time, the coworker's attitude toward him changed gradually. But I knew I had finally made it when one day he came in and asked, "What can I help you with today?" And so that's a powerful exercise. You just find that person that gets on your last nerve, or maybe you identify it, I want to do this in my marriage, and you want to take what it is that's on your last nerve and go through that exercise. Because like begets like. And just sit with it. Just sit with it. It will come to you. It will come to you how you are being that person. And then he has another exercise. And I think these are powerful, so I'm highlighting them. It's on page 30, where he calls it stand and watch yourself go by. And he says that we all need some way to check up on ourselves and figure out, okay, how are we using this law and whether or not we're improving it. And so what he says is go back to the last person that you either said or did or thought about And I want you to review like your last interaction with them. You know, why did you say what you did? How did you feel about it? It could be a good thing, right? Would you do it the same way again if you had the chance? Does it measure up to what you feel would be the ideal way to act? And when you do this kind of analysis of your actions and improvement actions, it gives you this foundation to make changes, because you're able to discern how you are unknowingly applying the law. And you're then able to make some changes required to act more in accord with the idea. So powerful exercise. So the first one is just figuring out, so who's on your last nerve, and okay, how is like begets like happening in this situation. And then on page 30, just take the last person you talked to and go through that interaction and really kind of think about, well, what is that saying about how I'm applying the law? And then finally, leave me a comment on the YouTube video for this lesson. What was your biggest takeaway, and how can you use what you heard? Questions? Eve says, my family, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Like begets, like begets. Reverend Coleman taught us to say, what did I do to draw this? Yeah, yeah. If you just sit with it, it will come to you. I had a situation where someone I shared some information with came back to me in a harsh judgment of the information that I shared. And I was really put upon until I saw myself doing that same thing to a family member. And it was like, oh, like begets. It generally the person who's doing it to us may not be the person that we're doing it toward, right? It may not be a one-to-one kind of thing. Their life, that Evite has been sent by you. Constance says, I really like the second exercise and will certainly use it. Mirror. Yeah. Yep. Wonderful. Thank you guys for tonight. Thank you. Next week, we are talking about the law of increase. The law of increase starts on page 34. Starts on page 34, and we'll do, I need to look at it. I think we'll split that chapter as well, because that's all about prosperity, the law of increase. And we want more increase. I want to see increase all around me. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you so much for your consciousness. Andrea says, this was very helpful. It's good to be reminded of how we invite everything that happens into our lives. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys next week. Oh my God. Oh no, I did talk about the book. Sorry, that was a brain fart. Law of increase, half the chapter next week. We'll do half and half. All right. God bless.